So you'll have seen the other day, my Solar Flawless Vespers host dungeon. If you haven't saw that, go and watch that. But I have an overspill of footage that I'm going to be deleting. But before I delete it, I want to make a point. And this is an actual fact. This is not an elitist take. This is actually to get people to play the damn game. Because ultimately, okay, we all have to drop our egos. Whoever's still left in this Destiny 2 community, you all need to drop the ego, because eventually there'll be nobody playing this game. And then your ego will be destroyed, including mine, because I have one as well. We all have one, really. We all have one and use it in different ways. Let's be honest with ourselves. We all have one and use it in different ways. But what I'm saying is, for dungeon replayability, we need to get back to people wanting to play dungeons, because people aren't wanting to play dungeons. It's only your top 10 to 20% of players that are playing them. And this is a core problem that I'm going to go through with you right now. And the point of it is they reworked and repatched the Raneiks Unified Servitor boss at Vesper's Host, the first boss that you encounter at the dungeon, the Servitor boss. I guess people don't even know his name. He's called Raneiks. He's actually a Destiny 1 boss. Yeah, I bet people didn't know that. He's actually from Prison of Elders, he's Raneiks. Anyways, let's see what Bungie did. This was a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Patch. This is a boss buff. This is a player nerf boss buff. Here it is. Fixed an issue where using Hunter's Shadow Shot super ability on Raneiks Unified could result in the encounter crashing. Reduce the number of active servitors that appear when splitting the boss during DPS. Rebalance the boss's HP value to compensate for the reduced number of servitors. Re-enabled Hunter's Shadow Shot super ability in the activity. So, Hunters, you would think that's a win, right? A W, you get your Tether back. Well, I've been hearing from Hunters that they're not even using Tether on Raneiks. They're using Silence and Squall. Can you believe the irony of it? They've waited 3 and 4 months to use Tether, and then Hunter mains are doing Silence and Squall damage rotations on Raneiks. It's crazy. And not only that, the plot thickens because the servitor boss DPS phase has went from 10 servitors to 6. This means less splash damage. All splash damage is effective because of this. Ignition damage, jolt damage, stasis chunking damage. All area of effect damage is nerfed because they went from 10 to 6 servitors. Now, they said they rebalanced the HP pool. They haven't exactly said how they did that. But what I will tell you is Raneiks used to be considered a red bar behind the coding. A red bar or a vehicle. So basically, let me give you the history. Wallcliff Coil will do excessive damage to any combatant that is a non-boss target. If the target is a boss, you get an 80% debuff. Wallcliff Coil now no longer works on Raneiks. People, you're sleeping. Coil does not work. Neither does Grand Overture. Grand Overture does not work on Raneiks either. Before you mention that one, because the missiles are of similar nature to what Wallcliff Coil does. Get it? So the missiles from Grando are not good on this boss. So basically, I've done a lot of tests 3-4 days ago, whenever it was, testing a whole host of things to try and to be hopeful to see if there's anything secret meta about Raneiks, and there isn't. There basically isn't any secret measures. What worked before works now, but less effective. The best most used thing on Vesper's Host Raneiks boss is a Glacial Quake Super Titan with stasis chunking. The problem that I have with that is this. There are 192, there are probably 1,000 loadouts in this game. And only you can count on your hand how many loadouts actually work on Raneiks. This is a problem. The only reason why it works is because of Hail of the Storm. People, you're going to lose Hail of the Storm next week. Don't be crutching on that, because you're going to lose Hail of the Storm. So shatter damage chunking will be less effective after next week, because I doubt there's going to be stasis builds. It's going to be arc builds on the new mods. It's going to be arc builds and void builds, etc. And a bit of prismatic builds, of course. So what I'm saying is, you can't just answer to say, well, just use a Titan and you'll solo free phase Raneiks. Yeah, you will, but that's just really being tone deaf. And I don't want people to be tone deaf. I want them to look at the bigger picture. What's the bigger picture? Well, we've got a Titan Hunter Warlock. We've got hundreds of exotics to use. We've got hundreds of builds to use, but only a couple work. And the footage that you're going to see coming up will absolutely call it out. So, Raneiks. Raneiks has approximately between 10 to 11 million HP points. The Puppeteer Master of Vesper's Host has 60 million HP points. This is why people aren't replaying dungeons. It's okay for contest mode, but after contest mode and after the first 3-4 weeks of a dungeon launching, the dungeon is then basically not recyclable. It's unplayable almost. What's the point? Unless you're farming the rolls of the weapons, what's the point? Then you're farming a fire team though. So the replayability of the dungeons, the newer ones, well, I wouldn't say Warlord's Ruin. Warlord's Ruin is actually very well balanced in the game right now. Yes, it is. I've seen the footage. All of the bosses are balanced properly for DPS, time window to HP points. The final boss is very well designed. The Ogre boss is very well designed. He's not too tanky. He's appropriately balanced. Appropriately balanced. And the first boss is appropriately balanced. Vesper's Host and Ghost of the Deep suffers from it a little bit as well. Maybe not as bad as Vesper's Host. The bosses are just far too tanky. Now, I have a couple of solutions to how you would do this. Number one, this is the first solution in order to get people to play dungeons again. Revert the overcharge level mechanic before the final ship. You used to be able to overlevel any dungeon by 20 levels. Bring that mechanic back into the game. We should be allowed to overlevel enemies in Destiny 2, apart from as follows: contest mode raids, contest mode dungeons, and Grandmaster Nightfalls. Those are the only activities that we should not be allowed to overlevel. Everything else in the game should be allowed to be overleveled, including lost sectors. We should not be imposing a world power cap for every single thing that we do in the game. It's no good. They need to get rid of it quickly before everybody doesn't play anymore. This is a SOS call. We need to get it going. You need to push Bungie to tell them what they need to do. Yes, we need to be a little aggressive, but you ain't going to get nothing done if you're nice. So you need to push back at them and tell them, look, we need to go back to more, to get players to play. Look, there's a lot of egos in the game, and they'll have elitist takes where they tell you, no, the game's easy, it's fine, it's balanced well. The problem is with ego players, which I'm one as well, is that we need to drop egos quickly before everybody leaves the game, because that's absolutely going to happen. 2025 has too many good games going. Have you seen the new Doom game? Have you seen, GTA 6? Have you seen all these games coming out? People addicted to Path of Exile and games like this, of this nature. Destiny 2 won't survive the apocalypse if we don't have some game world reset for 2025 Frontiers. It has to come with some game world reset. Has to come with it. And that doesn't mean sunsetting. I'm not calling for sunsetting. I'm calling for a game world reset to rework the damn game, because everything's just not in balance. It's out of whack. So that's solution one, to overlevel dungeons. Here's another solution for you. Now, this is in-game mechanics. This is in-game mechanics. I am not talking out of my arse at all. This is a in-game mechanic. Legendary campaign Lightfall. I know you hate it, but I don't care. The modifier Multiplicity says this: greater fire team size, skills, combatant difficulty, and adds limitations on revives. I don't care about the revive situation. It says greater fire team size, skills, combatant difficulty. Why can't we have that modifier for dungeons? Now, I'm not saying that we reduce all HP pools of all dungeon bosses by a third, because by 2/3, right? I'm not saying to do that either. What I'm saying is to have a maybe rebalance of all HP values of every single boss. Go through them all, because Shattered Throne doesn't have enough HP, right? Grasp of Avarice doesn't have enough HP pools. Spider of the Watcher is probably balanced right, but there's a massive bug right now with Spider the Watcher with one of the dungeon bosses. So if you go through it, it's all inconsistent. Ghost of the Deep, the final boss, has too much HP. Simama, Banana, whatever you want to call her, she has too much HP. Okay? So some bosses have too much health pools, some have too much. For example, Vesper's Host, the final boss Puppeteer, has 16 million HP, like I've been saying. That should be cut down to 10 at least. 10 to a 12 because of everything that you have to go through on DPS in terms of the lightning strikes and stuff. You know, we need to all drop our egos as D2 players. I don't care if you played 10, 11 years. I'm not bothered about it. What I'm bothered and concerned about is other people playing and new players, getting new players in. That ultimately has to be the goal. As a community, if you don't welcome new players, you're going to be left with just yourselves. And then you've got a salty PvP base because they're all fighting each other in PvP. You've got a salty PvE base that are being competitive towards each other. I done a solo GM in 10 minutes. You done it in 40 minutes. Who's the better player? Well, I don't know. Let's see how you fare on day one stuff. Then we'll separate the men from the boys. So it's not a case of being egotistical about it. We've got to look at the bigger picture. The replayability of dungeons and the game world stuff has gone down because of some situations that I've explained. So let's now go to Raneiks. Ain't nothing working on him, and I've got the clips. Now, there's a bonus clip at the end with 1K voices, so if you want to watch that, there's a bonus clip at the end with 1K voices. A secret DPS rotation with 1K voices on the Puppet Master. Yes, on the Puppet Master, not Raneiks. So when we talk about Raneiks, what are your options? Other than on a Glacial Quake Behemoth, what have you got? You've got Parasite as an option. Parasite's not that good though. It's not hitting that hard. Your first shot hits massively, but then after that, it's not hitting that hard. You're not going to solo 2-phase with Parasite on Raneiks, not now. You ain't doing it. You'll solo 4-phase at best, and you'll struggle as well at that because I've had a go with testing with that. So what else is there then? Dragon's Breath is nerfed. Ignition damage is nerfed on Raneiks. You can't use it. Grand Overture does not work. The missiles do not work on the Raneiks boss. I have tested this also. So what else can you use then? Well, you've got Parasite, a legendary Waveframe GL, which is probably the best weapon to use on him, or Truth. Yes, Truth had a major buff, and he's now one of the highest DPS rocket launchers in the game. I know that I've got 0 kills on it, but I've got another one in the vault with 3,000 kills on it, so don't pick up on that detail. But yes, Truth is something that you can use on Raneiks and solo 4-phase with Truth. So yeah, don't be sleeping on no Truth. It is very good because of the buff. Plus it's got 3 rockets in a mag, and 1 reload gives you another 3. So I know there's bait and switch rockets and MBS Arsenal rockets, but I'm just saying Truth is putting out a lot more damage than it used to because it got changed at some point. So yeah, you can't use anything. You can't use Acreus, you can't use swords, you can't use Microcosm, it doesn't work. Single target damage doesn't work on Raneiks, so you are baited into a corner on what to use. You've still got to use splash damage. So everything that was a solo 2-phase that used to be, or even solo 3-phase, it's now 4, 5, 6 phases. Depending on how good you are and what you do. You have to min-max. You have to run star rated skills. You've got to. Song of Flame and Dawnblade does not work on the boss. It doesn't even work. You would have to probably use Well if you're going to do a solo warlock. For example, with Sanguine. Yes, the chestplate Sanguine. Have we got it on us? Yeah, this one. You would have to use Sanguine for the extra damage that it adds. But look, that's small minds. We're looking at the bigger picture here. We need more effective stuff on Raneiks. Raneiks needs to rebalance, and we need to look at how dungeons are going to be going forward and maybe do some sort of fire team scaling or let us overlevel dungeons. I think the answer is just to let us overlevel dungeons. That would increase their playtime because I would have to put more time for putting more XP to overlevel dungeon by 20, so then at least I'm rewarded for something. Reward hundreds of hours of playtime. Why not? Why go against it and power cap everything? Like I told you, the only things that should be power capped in the game are contest raids, contest dungeons, and GMs. That's it. You don't need to power cap anything else in the game. You don't even need to power cap strikes. Why would we power cap strikes? I would rather go and play D1 strikes at this point. Plagueland strikes. Seaver Heroic strikes. That's what it was called. I'd rather go and play them. Why are we power capping this? What's the point in this number then up here? Ain't no point in it. So that's the solutions. The footage coming up will be a lot of clips of me basically failing, but it was a DPS test crunch day. I actually put a few hours aside to DPS crunch Raneiks, and that's what the clips are going to be coming up. So these are the failed results of all my DPS testing 3-4 days ago. Like I say, these were just, at the time, I was just seeing if there was any hidden metas on this boss. Didn't turn out there was, apart from maybe Truth that people wouldn't have realised. This was a Dragon's Breath Dawn Chorus rotation, which, by the way, melts the Puppet Master, but it ain't melting no Raneiks. Look at the damage it's doing. It ain't doing no damage because I guess Ignition damage is neutered against him so that we can't melt him like people was doing. But as a result, it means that it's unplayable on this class, on a Dawn Chorus Dawnblade class at least. And even Song of Flame's bad. We're doing another clip here. This was with Truth. Truth done the damage, but Song of Flame is horrendous against his boss. It's just a big no-no not to use it. But these are the clips just showing how good Raneiks is. Truth's doing the good damage, but obviously the damage is not cooking because I'm not on a Star Rated Scales Nova or a Sanguine Well of Radiance, for example. But I was obviously just trying out strats at the time because there was no footage. There was no footage on YouTube, basically none. There was maybe 5 clips. That was it. There wasn't no footage. So I'm just showing you how bad this is. It's unplayable. We do a Warlock, Song of Flame, Sword Strat. It's doing no damage. Vortex Frame Sword, I thought, you know what, maybe there'll be some chain damage chunk. There isn't any. It's absolutely not the strat at all. Look at how bad that is. That was with Surges. All these clips are with Surges. Which, by the way, most people don't even surge switch. So imagine if you didn't surge switch. We'll try Accuracy. It's a single target damage weapon, but maybe there's some secret sauce. They didn't turn out to be. Song of Flame Pop, we'll do Trench Barrel. The idea is to do that with Song of Flame Melee Ignition. It ain't doing nothing. Look at this. It ain't doing nothing. So all splash damage is nerfed, apart from Stasis chunk damage. That works exactly the same, just that there's less servitors now, so it's less damage. That's the only reason. So Stasis damage chunking still works on him. Now this is a 1k voice. Now this is one of the best weapons on Raneiks. It's not better than Parasite. It's not better than the heavy waveframe GL. It's not better than Truth. But hey, I was surprised. The only reason why this is not that good of damage is because I'm not on a Star Rated Scales Nova. Because as I said to you, hey, you know, Song of Flame's terrible on him. Let's see if there's some secret DPS meta on an Arc Warlock. You never know. Let's just see it. So again, we're just trying to get a feel. Can Jolt damage be good on him? We've even Anarchied. Let's see what damage Chaos Reach does. This is with Geomag Stabilizers, which, by the way, will be a meta option for most things in the game next season. Not for this fight, it isn't. Look at the damage, how bad that is. Okay, so let's do another one. Now we're on Prismatics, and now at this point I started to get wise that I need to do a Star Rated Scales damage rotation, and it cannot be with Song of Flame, so it must be Nova Bomb or Needle Storm, but Nova Bomb, I think, was the one. This is a Microcosm rotation. It done no damage. Obviously, it wouldn't because single target damage is awful. I think the Raneiks Servitor bosses, the HP needs to be way more unique or unified. Not unified, but more individualistic, so that you can do single target damage. It shouldn't just be splash damage, because it's inconsistent. Then the DPS phase is RNG if you make it like that, because the servitors, yeah, you need to have the servitors stand still then. You can't have them run around. This was a Star Rated Scales rotation. We end up killing ourselves, but yes, you can solo 4 phase with Truth, but I just thought I'd include that as a funny clip. That's because of proximity grenades. Grenades and horseshoes on Truth will kill you. So yes, Truth's a good option, but he kills you very easily. That was just me highlighting that. He's where I won. Ding ding, we have a winner, Johnny. This was the best clip. We obviously end up doing better damage than this later on, but Star Rated Scales, Nova Bomb rotation with the Waveframe Neomuna GL was like the best option. Now, DPS rotation wasn't perfect. I'm not saying it was, but I'm just saying that's what I ended up going with on my solo floors, didn't I? So I'm like, yep, okay, this is going to be the loadout that I go with. It's the most consistent out of them all, in my opinion. Truth can do more than this, but Truth can be inconsistent as well a little bit. So that's your Raneiks footage. This now is your bonus clip. If people have stayed till this long, people have asked me about this. There is a secret DPS rotation you can do on the Puppet Master with easy survivability and high damage output. You can put 4 mil to 4.5 mil HP on this boss with with 1000 voices. Why is that possible? Why? Because Ember of Sinjin gives you your rift back, and 1000 voices scorches. So look at rift energy left hand side. It's an absolute strat that you can do. Dragon's Breath's probably better though, but look at the super chunk we get back with 1k voices. So there is a little strategy there. And yes, it hasn't got the total ammo, but you can make it work. It just means that phase 2 is a little less damage than phase 1 of phase 1. But I'm just saying, I'm just highlighting, look, if you run Ember of Sinjin on a Dawn Chorus Warlock with Helion, you'll keep getting your rifts back, and pair that with a Scorching exotic like Dragon's Breath or 1k voices. It allows for very, very easy solo DPS on the Puppet Master. In my opinion, probably the easiest way to do this without having to jump round and avoid the lightning strikes, because you don't have to do that. You just stand at back left because the lightning strikes don't hit back left. So I'm just showing you this as a clip. It's like, hey, look, this is like a niche build. I mean, I don't know how many people have 1k voices. I'd have to check that on light.gg or on the stats. But I think more people have 1k voices than we are led to believe. But yeah, I didn't choose this in my Soul Flawless run because it's a rare exotic and people will complain to me about that. But I'm just showing you this as a bonus clip. So yeah, that's my thoughts on what they can do with dungeons. Either add solo operator, reduce, make fire team sizes a factor for solo DPS, but don't go too harsh with it. Make it so it's still challenging solo. The sweet spot is a solo free phase for most bosses, no more than 5. That was a video on this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.